Sade Shepard. I'm an academic advisor in the SOAR office.
And I'm Kelsey Cutright. I'm also an academic advisor in the SOAR office. Thanks for joining us today for the SES presentation. We're going to be talking a little bit about how to combat Zoom fatigue. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So what is Zoom fatigue? Well, according to Psychology Today, Zoom fatigue describes the tiredness, worry, or burnout associated with overusing virtual platforms of communication, such as Zoom. But video conferencing isn't all bad. For example, it promotes efficiency, which removes a lot of the unnecessarily long conversations we might have. It also encourages some soft skills, such as adaptation, communication, and even the use of new technologies. So then, what are some of the signs to look out for if you think you might be experiencing Zoom fatigue? Well, you might feel generally exhausted when you end a call. You might also struggle to stay focused or feel a lack of communication. You might even be left feeling angry because there was a miscommunication during the call, or you couldn't get a word in. You might also feel awkward and confused because it was difficult to focus, or you were just self-conscious about the way that you look or the way that you spoke. Overall, though, if you have Zoom fatigue, you likely feel more exhausted when ending a video than if you had met with the same people in person. And that's the big differentiating factor. So what might cause Zoom fatigue? What might cause you to feel this way? Well, Zoom fatigue has both psychological and physical causes. So psychologically, when we meet in person, our brains rely on the automatic processing of nonverbal cues, which are essentially our body language. When we're video conferencing, we struggle to infer those subtle cues. And then when people turn their cameras off, it feels like you're talking to a computer or a blank screen. So without these meaningful human interactions, video conferencing becomes that much more fatiguing. We can't tell whether the people we're talking to understand us, and we struggle to effectively use humor or other emotions. Additionally, we're just way more self-aware of our own faces. So we tend to downplay our emotional reactions to things, or we might even overexpress. So for example, have you ever caught yourself laughing longer or louder at something you don't necessarily still find funny, but the rest of the class is still laughing? Or it might be the opposite. You might stop yourself from laughing. You might have smiled and kind of started to laugh, but nobody else is laughing, and you realize that, so you kind of somber up to match the emotion of the room. And we would normally do that if we were in person as well, but it's taken to an extreme because you can see your face. You could see that it doesn't match everyone else, and we're tending to pay attention to ourselves rather than to the person that's speaking or taking quick glances at everyone else. Also, audio has been proposed as one of the main reasons that video conferencing is draining. It turns out delays in verbal responses negatively affect our perception of others, even without technical issues. So basically that means that even if the video isn't skipping, the internet isn't having any issues, because our voices don't exactly match up to our movement on the screen, we actually have a negative impact of our perception of the person that's talking. So it goes both ways. They feel the same way about you, and we don't necessarily perceive that. It's just part of the factor that continues to make it draining because we're trying to understand who the people are that we're talking with. So now let's just watch a quick portion of this video that goes a little more in depth about what it is that's causing this psychological disconnect.
We have this false sense of casualness when actually video calls are just as invasive and personal as meeting with someone in person. Speaking of invasive and personal, the other thing that's happening to your brain on a video call is that we think that people are in our intimate space. So I don't know if you've noticed, but in all my videos, I try really hard to show you more of my shoulders, to give you a little bit more of my torso. A big mistake that people make when they're on video is they go really close to the camera. So all you can see is the top part of their head. That triggers your brain to think that someone is in your intimate space. This is called proxemics in the study of body language, and proxemics is the distance between people. There are 4 different proxemic zones: the public zone, the social zone, the personal zone, and the intimate zone. The public zone is we don't really know people, they're kind of far away. The social zone means someone's close to us, we don't feel threatened by them. And the personal zone is, we're chatting, we're communicating, we're congenial. And the intimate zone is we're either going to kiss or we're going to punch each other. Have you ever noticed that when two people are about to get into a fight, they get really close to each other and they're like, yeah, what? Sorry, that was like horrible probably for you. I'm so sorry. Was that like really invasive? I'm so sorry. And that's because I got too close to you. When you're about to kiss, let's use my hands. When you're about to kiss, people get really close and then it's like that. Or they fight and they're like, what? I hate you. Ooh. And they get really close. So in a video call, you're probably like, where is this going? How did we get here from a video call? Here's how we did it. When we are only a foot away, so I'm only about a foot away from my camera right now, I begin to get really close. And your brain is like, whoa, lady. Back up. You are too close. And so Zoom calls keep triggering our fight or flight response. And so that is one of the reasons why you get on a video call and you don't realize, you're sweaty. Man, why am I so nervous? It could be because they're accidentally triggering your sense of fight or flight or getting too close. So easy fix for this is just take a step back from the computer. Make sure that you're always framing a little bit farther away because now we're about 3 feet away, and if they're 3 feet away, you get into the personal zone, which is exactly where you want to build rapport. The second thing that happened is a 2014 study found that even a 1.2 second delay can make you seem less friendly. And the reason for this is because if even there's a slight video delay, not only is it incredibly annoying, your facial expressions do not match your words. So you might make a joke and then smile, but there's a delay. So your smile and your joke are not aligned. We do not like when people are not congruent. So congruent are when people's body language and words are completely aligned. In a delay, your video and your audio get further and further apart. And so we go, she's not congruent. And so the other thing I want you to think about here is if you are on a video call and you are having a 1.2 second delay, it is worth doing a recall or just go on audio. Because that 1.2 second delay could actually hamper your rapport building. The last thing that happens here, and this is really hard, is during a conversation, we are constantly reading each other's nonverbal cues. On video, you only get a small section of my nonverbal cues. You get what I'm willing to present to you. So some of my facial expressions, my voice tone, but you don't get to see my foot behavior. You don't even get to see my hands all the time if I have my hands down here. And so your brain has to work even harder to try to read me, to try to bond with me. And that makes it even harder to produce my favorite chemical, oxytocin. So I love oxytocin. Oxytocin is the chemical of bonding and connection. And when we're in person and we're making eye contact, we're producing oxytocin. When we handshake or hug or high five, we produce oxytocin. That makes us feel closer. On video, it is much harder to produce oxytocin. Like right now, for example, if we were on video call together, I would be looking at the camera, which is right there, but you would be down there. So my screen is actually down here. So if I wanted to look at your facial expressions and your voice tone, I would be looking here. But then you don't get any oxytocin. So if I do make eye contact with you, then I don't get any nonverbal feedback. So basically, you're forcing your brain to choose connection or reading people. And that is a lot of pressure to put on your brain. It makes it even harder to connect, and we don't get that same social high that we get when we're in person.
Okay, so now that we've covered some of those psychological causes, let's cover some of the physical causes. So one of the main things that you may or may not notice is that you're now missing a lot of what we would call natural breaks. So for one, all of the chit chat is gone. You're not getting to class and talking to your friends who sit near you before the lecture starts, or asking them questions mid-lecture because you missed something on a slide. As I mentioned before, one of the benefits of video conferencing is that it promotes efficiency. However, by doing so, all of those natural breaks are now gone because silencers are kind of awkward in online classes. We also tend to move around significantly less while we're trying to stay in this little box and staring in one direction. So this can result in a stiff neck, shoulders, eye strain, legs falling asleep, headaches, etc. Also, when we meet in person, there are a lot more opportunities to look out a window or to get distracted by somebody walking by. looking down to write notes, etc. But online, people feel a lot more pressure to constantly be attentive and to look at the screen to show that you're paying attention, which is good. It just makes a lot more of a physical fatigue. So finally, Zoom fatigue is only made worse by our more sedentary lifestyle. Now that we're in a pandemic, there's a lot less going on that we can physically go to. And physical activity is associated with 40% reduced risk of fatigue. But again, now that we're spending many more hours sitting in the same spot, not walking around campus to get to your next class or the next event, that lack of movement causes a greater fatigue. But don't worry, Sade will now talk about some of the ways that we can combat those causes of Zoom fatigue.
Thanks, Kelsey. All right, so here are a couple tips that should really help relieve some of the fatigue and exhaustion that you might be experiencing as a result of the time that you're spending on Zoom and sitting in front of a screen. So tip number 1, avoid multitasking. Many of us will jump at any opportunity to knock out multiple tasks at once, and obviously just to get stuff done, get more stuff done in less time. Before you attempt to finish up your research paper or send emails while listening in on a Zoom call or lecture, there are a few things that you should really consider. Research shows that trying to do multiple things at once can really cut into your performance. Switching between tasks can actually cost you as much as 40% of your productive time. This is because you have to turn off and on certain parts of your brain to do different types of work. Researchers at Stanford have found that people who multitask can't remember things as well. So how do we avoid doing other things while participating on a video chat? This is what we recommend. Close any programs or tabs that might distract you, such as your inbox or even like Facebook, and then make sure you put your phone away. Most importantly, just stay present in the moment and focus on the task at hand. I know it's difficult, but try hard to avoid the temptation to do other things and keep in mind that you'll be more productive doing so. Tip number 2, take breaks. During a longer video call, such as like a class lecture, we really encourage you to take mini breaks. You can do this by maybe minimizing your screen or just looking away from your laptop for a few seconds. You can still listen and take in information without staring at the screen for a full 50 minutes. Remember, this is not an invitation for you to turn your attention to something else. You are simply just taking a few seconds to rest your eyes while still focusing on the task at hand. Additionally, where you can help it, avoid scheduling your video calls or lectures back to back. Just like as if you would give yourself 10 minutes at least to get yourself across campus to get to your next class, you would really want to give yourself enough time between video calls to get up and move around a bit. Consider having, 25 to 50-minute calls versus your standard half-hour to full 1-hour call. This will hopefully give you time in between to catch your breath and relax for a few minutes. Additionally, it is highly recommended that you take time to stretch or exercise. This will help get that blood flowing and relieve some of that physical strain and tension that you have as a result of sitting in front of your computer screen, your computer screen for hours at a time. With that being said, let's put this great advice to work. I want you to just get up. Well, you actually don't have to get up for this, but take 5 minutes. Follow along with some of these great exercises. They're for stretching the neck and the back and getting rid of some of that strain and tension. And you can actually do these exercises right in your chair. It's just 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and do this together.
All right, everyone, so here is a quick stretch routine that I like to do when I'm sitting down a lot, working on the computer, hunched over, start getting some of that tension in your neck and back. So here are 4 stretches you can do right at your desk, sitting down. We're gonna start off with some desk cat-cows. Usually this is done on all fours, but since we're at a desk, we're going to do it right at our desk, sitting in our chair. Hands out in front, sit up nice and tall here. And then in this position, we're going to tuck our chin and round our back. Once you're at this position, we're going to just reverse it. We're going to look up and drive our chest out, trying to arch our back. We're going to run through this 10 times. I'm going to speed it up so I don't bore you to death. But let's do 10 reps. Let's do it together, right? Reps, desk, cat-cow. Now we're just going to go into arms overhead and arching back. Here, arms overhead, lean back just a little bit. 10 times, super simple. If you have a back that goes up on your chair, just scooch forward a little bit and then arch back a little bit. Okay, 10 reps. I'll see you guys in 10 reps. 10 reps, those two are great. It's gonna help mobilize our spine, get that spine moving. That last one, we're always hunched over. So what's the easiest way to get us out of this posture? Let's go in the opposite way. So those are the first two exercises you can do. And now we're gonna get a little bit of a side bend going. Our low back can get a little bit tight since we're always hunched over. So what we're gonna do here is take one hand to the outside of your chair, and then you bring this arm overhead. Then you're going to reach over this way, bending your body to the side. You get an awesome stretch right in that low back muscle, that QL muscle. Feels really good. So we're gonna hang out here and just hold this position. Let's just shoot for about 30 seconds on each side. Breathe through it, and we'll do both sides. I'll see you guys in 1 minute total. 30 seconds each side, really stretching out that low back, getting the whole stretch up the whole side actually. It's awesome. Let's finish up with T-spine extension with a little bit of rotation. We got a little bit of that back and forth, arching back, a little bit of the side bend. Now let's get a little bit of rotation to finish up. Sit on the end of your chair and then scooch that chair back just a little bit. Elbows are going to be on your desk. Elbows on the desk. Hands come to the back of your back. Back of your back. Yeah, sounds about right. And then from here, we're going to push our hips back and then sink our chest down. Once we hang out in this position, let's hold this for about 30 seconds. Get some good extension in the T-spine. And then from here, we're going to lift up one side. So lifting up one elbow and rotating towards one side. We'll alternate, chest down, alternate, keep that other elbow on the table, and we get some good rotation right in that mid-back. I want you guys to do, let's do 10 on each side. Again, let's keep everything simple. 10 on each side, and I will see you in 20 total reps. That is a quick little routine you can do at your desk, especially if you have those long days working on your computer. So give those a try. Also, write down in the comments what you want to see in the future. If you tried this and if you liked it, subscribe, like.
All right, so I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling some major relief in my neck and my shoulders. And, you know, lastly, I really encourage you to not only take time to stretch and pick up your own routine, but to get outside and take advantage of our beautiful campus. Take a walk, get some fresh air in between classes or your Zoom calls, and I think you'll really do yourself a favor. Okay, so our tip number 3 is reduce on-screen stimuli. So you really want to minimize your screen distractions. Research has proven that when we're on Zoom, we spend the majority of the time looking at our own face. I don't know about you, but I am guilty of this. And in staring at my face for that long, I start to overanalyze and begin to notice things that are super distracting. Like, for example, I'll stare and I'll be like, what's going on with my hair? Why do I have dark circles under my eyes? And sometimes it can even put me in a bad mood. Anyway, all of this can easily be avoided by simply hiding yourself from view. This means that people can still see you, but you no longer have to see yourself on the screen. Aside from your own face, we tend to focus in on other people's faces and their backgrounds as well. For example, if you are on a Zoom meeting with 10 people, that's 10 faces and 10 rooms that you are taking in all at once. You can see furniture, wallpaper, maybe what they had for breakfast, a roommate passing by. You might even strain to see what books they have on their shelves. Our brains have to process all of that at the same time, and this can cause major mental fatigue. To combat all of this, we highly encourage you to have a plain background and also encourage others as well to do that. And then Zoom also has a feature where you can opt to just view only the person who's talking. And then that way you aren't viewing a bunch of people at the same time. All right, so tip number 4, switch it up. While Zoom and video calls are awesome tools and they allow us to see others on a daily basis, especially for online learning, this is no reason to replace a good phone call or email. I challenge you to just take a look at your weekly schedule and evaluate whether or not a video call is even necessary. Can you get done what you need just by using good old-fashioned phone or email? Before scheduling a video session, so for example, say you just have a question for your academic advisor, consider if what you're trying to achieve in a meeting could actually be achieved by just sending an email or a quick virtual text or chat. This would save you plenty of time and then essentially some brain power. So in sum, we recommend that when you can, pick up the phone or just send a detailed email. I also encourage you to utilize this chat tool called Microsoft Teams. Hopefully you've heard of it, but it's an awesome tool and a quick and easy way for you to chat with staff or your classmates or friends. Okay, so on to our final tip. Tip number 5, create Zoom-free zones. So this is pretty simple. What it means is that where and when you can, try to create space in your daily and weekly schedule that is completely free of Zoom or video calls. We understand that there are certain days that there's no possible way to avoid Zoom or video call, but hopefully there are 1 or 2 days per week, or even just a few hours every evening that you can designate to get away from the screen time. Spend the day away from the screen entirely if possible. Get outside, exercise, go on a walk, sit in the sun, give yourself a mental break. All right, so just some bonus information for you. We do have some tips from the eye doctor. Dr. Brittany Wright is an optometrist and on faculty at the University of Missouri St. Louis College of Optometry. She is also an alumni of SIUE, graduating in 2009 and 2011. She offered the following quick tips and recommendations to help reduce any potential visual problems that you might have as a result of all the virtual learning that you're doing. The first piece of advice is that she recommends that you get an eye exam. This is an opportunity for your doctor to address any visual challenges that you might have. You could have an issue with something called eye teaming. And so this means that your eyes aren't working properly together, or you could have issues with eye focusing. All of these things can impact how comfortable you are with sustained work at a computer, tablet, or laptop. Another tip that she recommends is the 20-20-20 rule. This is a short, easy thing to remember. Essentially, every 20 minutes, you will take 20 seconds to look 20 feet away. What this does, it allows you, the focusing system in your eyes, an opportunity to relax from looking at that screen for so long. And then once you're able to get the focusing system to relax, it then allows you to look back at the screen, refocus, and reduce the effects of eye strain and blurred vision. Another adjustment that you can make is ensure that your screen settings have a reduction in the overall lighting and brightness. So you want to make sure that your text still appears bold, but that you don't have too much light projecting from the screen. You can also utilize those nighttime settings on Apple devices, and those will help reduce the amount of overwhelming light that you get off of digital screens. The final thing that you can do is make sure that you are in a comfortable seated position. If you are going to be looking at these devices for a long period of time, this just helps to reduce the impact of neck and shoulder discomfort. And that can occur from, sitting in front of your laptop for 2 to 3+ hours without taking a break. Additionally, Dr. Wright has provided a handout with a few other tips to help reduce eye strain. So just to mention a few: eye exercising, monitor cleaning, frequent blinking, and glasses wearing. So that about sums up our tips for combating Zoom fatigue. I really hope this helps you feel more empowered to take on your Zoom sessions with confidence, that you don't have to be miserable. And always keep in mind that Zoom has been nothing short of a miracle for virtual learning during this time. Although it can have some exhausting effects, it is an amazing tool for us to see each other and engage on a daily basis. This completes our SAS presentation. Thanks so much for tuning in to learn about Zoom fatigue and how to beat it. Have a great school year.